I'll just say it. I think the Vikings should trade JJ McCarthy and sign Sam Darnold to an
Oh
extension.
my
I
god.
think he's their guy. Welcome into the Fantasy Flow podcast. We are your hosts, Austin and Andy. This is episode number 13. We just watched week 4 of the NFL season, and this is in preparation for week 5. Boy, let's jump into it. The Seattle Seahawks went into Detroit, and Detroit's quarterback never threw an incomplete pass. And
Oh
naturally,
my
that
god.
led to a big L for the Seahawks. What were
Yeah.
your biggest takeaways from the game besides the perfect game from Jared Goff?
Yeah. I mean, hats off to Jerry Goff and the Lions as a whole. I mean, that offense was, it's hard not to appreciate the Lions offense. But the Seahawks wise, I think, man, having Kenneth Walker come back was huge. I think Gino played a really good game
What a
overall.
game. Yeah.
DK had a couple missteps here and there, a couple penalties, a couple that major fumble at the beginning of the game, not great. But honestly, we held our own. We scored 29 points. They scored 47, 42, 47 points. Like they're never scoring that again, I think. And so for us to put up that many numbers, I'm okay with it. We're still the leading division. I'm good.
Yeah, disappointing performance from the Seahawks defense. I expected more, especially from what we've seen through the first 3 weeks. But yeah, you gotta love what you saw from Gino. DK, even with that fumble, he's fighting for extra yards. You just love to
Mm-hmm.
see the heart out there on the field. It's hard to knock a guy for that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think
That's true.
overall our offense had a great showing. It's good to see Kenneth Walker is healthy. Good to see Gino is absolutely slinging it. He looks like the guy. And yeah, we lost to a good team who had a great night in their own building.
Mm-hmm.
Good for
Yep.
them.
On the road. Yeah.
It's a long season. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm not really worried about the Seahawks, but yeah, we lots of learning opportunities on the defensive side of the ball for sure.
Yeah. Not having our entire starting defensive line really hurt us there.
So Andy, how did you feel about the rest of what you saw from the NFC in Week 4 here?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to give you a spicy one here. You ready for it?
I'm ready. Yeah, hit me with a reaction.
Let's do it. My overreaction for the NFC is there is just going to be one single team from the NFC East making the playoffs. And it's not going to be the Cowboys, and it's not going to be the Eagles.
The Giants. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, yeah. No, we've seen some great play from the Commanders, and they're winning the division right now. They're 3-1. Everyone else is 2-2 or worse. And wow, Jaden Daniels looks like the guy. He
Yes, he does.
he looks like he has just taken the next step after the next step. Every year he was in college, and then it resulted in the Heisman Trophy by the time he left college football, and he's just picked up right where he left off. So that's amazing pick for them. They look like they have their guy of the future. I don't know that I'm ready to say they're gonna win the division though. And you're discounting the other teams? So, okay, let's break this down. So, you
Mm-hmm.
think the Cowboys are missing the playoffs? What makes you say that?
Inconsistency. I mean, Dak. I mean, how much can Dak win the game for them? I don't know. Like every can Dak win the division because I don't think he's making a wild card spot. I think the rest of the NFC is so competitive that they're going to need to whoever wins that division is going to is it gets an auto bid to the playoffs, and that's it. No wild card is coming out of the NFC East. I think Atlanta's doing good in the South. I think San Francisco Seahawks in the West, and And in the North, it's just a stacked division in the North. The Packers, the Vikings, the Lions. I mean, I just don't see how there's any
Yeah.
room for any from the Dallas Cowboys or the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, no, I think that's the best argument for your take here, I think, is the NFC North and just how stacked that division is. The Lions, Vikings, which we're going to talk about in just one second. Packers look great. Jordan Love is healthy. And then the Bears, they got another W. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I've said for a long time that that division is the worst division in football. I've said that for years. You
Oh,
know, last year might be the start of it turning around, but when you think about it,
sure.
that division has not gone to a Super Bowl since Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl. That was over 10 years ago. I mean, the Bears, the Lions are just recently coming
Mm.
on, but there's a couple destitute franchises who are just now starting to look promising, and all four of those teams are great. Uh, they were great
Hmm.
on Sunday, at least Sunday and Monday.
Now you could almost make the opposite argument and say that the NFC East is one of the worst divisions in football. There's something going on with Philadelphia, man. Like I can't put my finger on it, but Jalen doesn't look the same. The defense looks scattered and looks like there's no head on the snake. They're just running around with their heads cut off. I mean, it's okay. I'm gonna
Hmm.
just vent right here. What is Bryce Huff doing? What, like, they signed this guy from the Jets and then he doesn't see the field at all.
Yeah.
Like, Vic Fangio is just like, I didn't sign this guy, so why should I play him? Like, what is going on the defense?
Yeah, that was a massive contract, and I heard a stat. It was like this time last week, so I don't know what happened on a Sunday, but yeah, he hasn't recorded a single tackle through the first 3 weeks.
He's not on the
Like he's
field.
he's he's never contributed at all. That's hard to rack up tackles from the bench. That's true. But yeah, no, that's
Crazy.
crazy, and they could really use him. They could use anything right now. Honestly, I think they are very fortunate to have the earliest bye week in the NFL. So week five's their bye, and so they get 2 weeks to get healthy. They're going to get AJ Brown back. They should get Devonta Smith back, and that's just such a blessing for them. I think the Eagles, they're still my pick to win that division. So, technically, I would say what you said is an overreaction. I'm kind of with you on the fact that that division's bad and that the Cowboys are in danger of missing the playoffs. But I think that the Eagles are going to get right, and we'll see in 2 weeks. I think they'll be back into like the league's, I don't know, top 10.
Okay. Okay.
So my NFC take after this week's games, we're going back to the NFC North, and I want to talk about the NFC's only undefeated team, the Vikings. And I'll just say it. I think the Vikings should trade JJ McCarthy and sign Sam Darnold to an
Oh
extension.
my
I think he's their guy, and what's the point in like just waiting around for JJ to hopefully eventually play like Sam Darnold's playing for you right now? Sam Darnold's only 27 years old, and you really couldn't ask for more. So I don't even like they should sign him to an extension now. Like don't even wait for the off season because then he's gonna reach free agency and he's gonna have all the bargaining power. Just while you have him in the building, just sign him to an extension. Am I wrong?
I'm gonna present a single argument, and his name is Michael Penix. Atlanta did the same thing. They signed Kirk Cousins and then they drafted Michael Penix. Why not have arguably the best backup in the league? Why would you steer away from that? I agree that Sam Darnold should get a bigger contract and he should be the starter moving forward until he messes up. And then you have maybe the second best backup to come in and replace him with JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I don't know. So it's always great to have a backup quarterback. That is very important. Um, but just think about the return that you could get, like that's value that's not helping you get a W on Sundays. All these resources that you're pouring into a backup quarterback, as long as Sam Darnold is healthy, like what if there's a team who is a quarterback needy team, but they're winning a few too many games? You could trade him for someone who can help you win right now. Um,
Hmm.
think about the Raiders. What if the Raiders wanted to move Devonte Adams for their quarterback of the future, JJ McCarthy? I don't know. I'm just
Oh
spitballing,
my
but
gosh, that would be crazy. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh my gosh, that would be such an insane trade across the NFL. Holy smokes. No, 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 no. You need. What if Sam Darnold gets hurt? What if Sam Darnold sucks? Like, what
yeah,
if
yeah.
all these what ifs? Like, you need a backup. You need a JJ McCarthy that you already invested a what it's the 12th overall, 11th overall pick, 10th overall pick. I don't know what it was, but
Something like
oh
that. Yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no. I like where your head's at. That would cause ripples, but no, I think I'm gonna deem this as an overreaction.
Whatever. Do you have a strong reaction regarding the AFC teams that we saw this weekend?
Oh, you know I got a strong reaction. This one's gonna be your favorite, I think. So the game that stunned me the most was the Broncos versus the Jets. Crappy weather at home in New York against a rising Bo Nix that got his first win, like woohoo. And then the Jets go and lose that game off of a missed field goal. And it was wide miss. I mean, ooh, talk about a blunder from Greg the Leg. So here's my overreaction. I think the Broncos will win their next 4 games in a row, and they will be 6-2, and they will be number 1 in the division.
Andy, that's hilarious. You know what I wrote down for my AFC reaction?
What's that?
I just wrote down that the Broncos have a legitimate shot at the playoffs. That's
Oh
but
my gosh.
you took it so much farther. And obviously I don't disagree. If we both had the same take, geez, yeah, no,
Ryan,
that result was so
Ryan.
s- that result was so surprising. And knowing
Oh,
the inclement weather that surrounded it makes it make a little more sense, but honestly not.
no,
It,
no.
It's so crazy from the Jets' perspective. This is about the Broncos, so just real quick with the Jets. The weather's terrible, and Aaron Rodgers is throwing the ball. I think he threw it 45 times, and they only
Oh,
ran it like 20 or 25 times. I mean, I don't. That's unacceptable. And I get like Brees Hall was being really inefficient with his touches. I think he was averaging like 2 yards a carry, if that.
yeah,
But
it
he
was
couldn't
bad.
even he couldn't even get going. Like he only finished with 10 carries, I think. And in a bad weather game, I just don't know why you would just continue to double down on the passing game. Um, but both of these defenses are for real, and I think Bo Nix has just improved every single week. And yeah, he threw his first passing touchdown of his career last
Mm-hmm.
week, and I think we're going to see some more of that moving forward. And yeah, that division. So, like you said, I'll tee you up on this, and then you can. I'm not sure their schedule for the next 4 weeks, or the Chiefs for that matter. But I'll set this up for you here. So the Chiefs are 4-0. All three of the other teams in that division are 2-2, and I know the Broncos' next 2 games are against the other two, the Chargers and
Right.
the Raiders. So they
Mm-hmm.
have a chance with these next 2 weeks to say, hey, we're the team that's actually contending this year. You guys might contend later, but if we win these next two
Right.
games, we solidify ourselves in that top two of our division.
Yes, I'm all about it. I think the Broncos defense is becoming one of the more formidable defenses in the NFL, and Bo Nix can throw for six. If Bo Nix can throw for 60 yards and win, I mean, I feel like their power is unlimited at this point. If that's what they're doing, I mean, that it's just crazy that they're winning these games somehow.
Unlimited?
Unlimited. It's crazy. The Broncos' next four games are at home against the Raiders, at home against the Chargers, in New
Wow.
Orleans, and then at home against Carolina. I mean, those are four easy W's in my opinion. The Chargers will be a battle, but I still feel like they can win that game.
I didn't realize both of those divisional games were home games. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's absolutely huge. Um, yeah, I totally agree with everything you're saying. I think the Chargers will be a tough out. I think the Saints will be a tough out, but it's all there in front of them. And if Bo Nix continues to play like this, and he won't have to go up against the Jets' pass defense ever again, then they're
Right.
going to be
Right.
right there. They're going to be in it. So, alrighty, let's do a update for our listener league. In our guillotine league, we lost a good one. Our buddy Brandon goes by Salazar. He had a great team. I was looking at this kind of going through past weeks, and he never scored less than 118 points through the first three
Wow.
weeks. And then
Mm.
he has the lowest score in the whole league with 73. That's gotta sting because he had a good squad. He just had a bad week. Brees totally flopped, and Rasheed Rice
Mm-hmm.
gets hurt on like the first play or something like that, gives him a goose egg. That's totally out of your control. And then Patrick Mahomes has been disappointing all year, actually. So some big names are going to hit the waiver wire.
Yeah, we're not really at the stage of people just taking an L when you have good players. Like we're still at the early part of the guillotine league where people are still starting scrubs, you know? So to have these like high profile names and just come out and not deliver, that like you said, that's just gotta hurt.
Yeah, Rasheed Rice and Brees Hall combined for 3 point something. That's just
Yeah.
pretty much impossible to recover from. And yeah, I was going back through what is the lowest score each week. Week one, it was 63 points. Then it dropped down to 51. Last week, it was 70. And then this week, it was 73. So it's starting to creep
Wow.
up there. You get a little less and less room for error. All the teams, they're starting to get better. We can already see it. So,
Sure.
uh, yeah, moment of silence for Brandon.
The tribe has spoken.
All right.
All right. R.I.P. buddy. R.I.P.
Yeah, better luck next year. Let's go ahead and while we're eliminating, let's eliminate an NFL team from the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So far, we've eliminated the Carolina Panthers, the New York Giants, the New England Patriots, and now this week, um, there's only one team left in the league that has not gotten a win, and that's the Jacksonville Jaguars, 0-4. So I think the conversation's got to start there, right?
Yes. 100%.
I looked it up, and I'm sure people are posting about it. There's only been one 0-4 team to make the playoffs ever, and that was like 30 years ago. So it feels like a really safe bet if we just want to do the safe thing and go with the Jags. Um, the only other team I'll bring up, and Andy, I'll get your thoughts on this. The Miami Dolphins look absolutely putrid. Um, they don't have a quarterback. I think the Jaguars are a better team than the Dolphins, and the Dolphins are in a more competitive division. But
Hmm.
yeah, what are your thoughts? Any consideration towards the Dolphins and just that total crap show that was the other Monday night game?
Yeah. I, I say we wait in Miami. If Tua doesn't ever come back, then I think they're going to be an easy one to chop off. But I don't know how we can let this Jaguars team continue to give us hope at all to make the playoffs. 0-4, I say you're out.
I agree. I agree. I think we'll go with the Jaguars this week. For the Dolphins, I still see like a little path. towards the playoffs, and it absolutely requires Tua coming back. We just don't know. So yeah, if any more bad news were to come out about that, then they're immediately gone. But they have like I said, they have kind of a sliver of hope if they can get Tua back and they can get Tyreek going again. And yeah, maybe the Jets continue to take L's and they can sneak in there. We'll see. But yeah, for this week, Jags, you done.
Yeah, done. Yeah, gone.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and flip the page to look forward to Week 5 of the NFL season. Lots of good games. I feel like every week there's a couple of games. Sometimes they're in prime time, sometimes they're not. But what really caught my eye with Week 5 is this London game, Jets Vikings. And we already talked about him, but there's a huge Sam Darnold storyline here. You know, the Jets kind of like ruined Sam Darnold, and now he's with this
Oh
undefeated
yeah.
team, and he has a chance to really stick it to the Jets. But, like, is it a revenge game? Like, they drafted him and they gave him the chance? I don't know. But it's going to be a great game because that defense could give Sam, and, you know, I've thought this about other good teams that they've gone up against and beaten. Texans come to mind. They have a good defense, and Sam Darnold shredded
Right.
them. So we'll see if he's able to do the
Yeah.
same thing to the Jets defense. Um, is there another game on the schedule that's caught your eye?
Yeah, I feel like we're talking about a pattern couple last weeks. Definitely Buffalo at Houston. That's a Sunday night, a Sunday morning game, which is kind of crazy in my mind that they didn't flex that into an afternoon or maybe even a primetime game. Um, so that's going to be exciting to watch. And low key, I'm excited to see Jaden Daniels play again. So he's going against Cleveland in Washington. Um, I'm just I'm excited to see how far he can take this. I guess so.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
looking forward
he's
to seeing Washington.
immediately one of the most exciting players in the league now. It's crazy. He's not really doing it all through the air. He's doing a lot of it with his legs, and you just
Right.
never really know where it's going to come from. And it's his completion percentage is just through the roof, and that's awesome to see. The Browns are not an exciting opponent, but yeah, we'll see. His side is definitely a side that I considered for one of my game picks. I think they're gonna beat the Browns pretty handily. But yeah, that Bills Texans game, they're both 3-1. They're both
Mm.
leading their division in the AFC. That is just a total clash of titans that gets buried in the Sunday morning slate. But that's gonna be really cool to see who comes out on top there. Let's dive into fantasy football, and we're gonna give you some players that we are flowing into our lineups, and some players that we are flushing out of our lineups. Um, Andy, how about you go first? Who are some players that you're flowing into your lineup this week?
Yeah, I'm going to start with a quarterback that came back last week. That was a game time decision. His name's Jordan Love. Took him about 3 quarters to get back into the rhythm, but man, he was just lighting it up. So yeah, Jordan Love against the Rams this week. I think that's an easy flow into your lineup. He is back, baby.
Yeah, no hesitation at all. Yeah, no worries about the injury there. Um, My first flow in player, I know I just talked about how I like the other side in this game, but I'm going to go with Jerome Ford, still the starting running back for the Cleveland Browns, going up against the Commanders defense that just got shredded by James Conner. And it's just a nature of how the Commanders play defense. They don't trust their corners. Their corners are bad, so they're playing too high safety at all times. So they're just devoting so many numbers to the secondary and trying to limit those big plays that the
Mm.
box is nice and light. And I think Jerome Ford should be able to do more or less what James Conner did last week, and he might go for 100 yards, depending on
Ooh,
game
I would
script.
I would love that. I'm all for that, baby.
Who's your next one?
I'm going to go with Ramondre Stevenson going against the Miami Dolphins. We just had Tony Pollard eat up the Miami Dolphins. They're still a team that's going to have to heavily rely on the defense because Tyler Huntley is still figuring out how to work with this team on offense.
Yeah,
So
that's yikes.
yeah, I'm still. It's hard picking a Patriots player, and this is the only one I would ever pick.
It is hard. It is hard, especially 'cause he's had 2 down weeks, which is why I love it
Hmm.
as a flow-in player because he's one of those guys that people don't know what to do with. And
Right.
yeah, I co-sign this because he's had 2 good weeks, 2 bad weeks. His 2 good weeks were when they were highly competitive in the game, and I expect them to beat the Dolphins this week.
Yes.
Whoever they're
Yes.
throwing out there at quarterback, maybe they won't, but yeah, no, it should be a competitive game. So.
Right.
I like that. And we're sticking with the running backs. I got another one for you. I'm going to throw out Najee Harris. Uh, Najee Harris, super interesting. Through 4 weeks, and this is in PPR scoring, he has never scored less than 8 points. He's never scored more than 11. So he's been
Hmm.
right there. And, you would think to yourself, that's not good. And you're right. But what if I told you that he's never scored a touchdown yet this season? And they've got a pretty
Uh,
favorable matchup this week. I think that makes him safe, that he can get you that nice baseline. He's not going to bust. And if he scores a touchdown, well, then that's a really good game. And so I like Najee Harris versus the Cowboys, who seem very beatable with that sad defense we mentioned at the top of the show.
yeah.
So
Yeah. Depends if Jalen Warren's coming back or not. I don't think he is, but that's something to keep an eye out for. But also no Micah Parsons and no Dexter Lawrence this next game.
yeah, no, I think the Steelers will be able to do everything that they want to do against the Cowboys defense.
Pound the rock,
Who's your next
baby.
flow-in player?
Yeah, my last flow in player. This guy has been the highlight of this team. His name is Brian Thomas Jr. for the
Mm.
Jaguars. Again, the only player I'm starting on the Jaguars that I would ever consider. He just catches, he does it all. Trevor Lawrence is like, you're just a guy. You're just a guy. I miss my tight end. Here you go, rookie. And yeah, he's doing it all for that team. And so I have confidence that he'll continue this trend, and he's flowing into my lineup.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I have Christian Kirk in a couple places, and he's actually had a couple good weeks too. But it's not at the expense of Brian Thomas. They're both having great
Right.
games. So yeah, as long as the Jaguars are in that passing game script, then I think you can rely on Brian Thomas in your
Which
lineup.
yeah, which they will be. And who knows if Evan Ingram is ever coming back? I mean, poor guy, but yeah,
Jeez, yeah,
Brian.
yeah. Kids, don't stretch if you're listening to this. They tell you to stretch. It's a trap. Okay, it's not worth it. You
Hmm.
can just
Yeah.
goof off right up until the start of the game. Otherwise, you're gonna pull
Right.
your hamstring.
Do you want to be in the game? Then you better just stand there and be ready for it.
Right. Oh man, my last flowing in player is Broncos wide receiver Cortland Sutton.
Oh,
Uh, just caught that touchdown pass. Bo Nix's first ever passing touchdown went straight to Cortland, and I think they got a couple nice matchups on the schedule. Bo Nix gonna keep just elevating his game, and Cortland Sutton's the clear number one. So I'm throwing him in. I don't care. I don't care how gross it is. I think he's gonna have a good game.
I don't know if I can. I don't know. It's when your quarterback throws for under 100 yards, it's hard to start anybody on that team. So I think if anybody's going to succeed, it's going to be Cortland Sutton. But man, that's a tough one to swallow. I think.
Before we give our flow out players, I just wanted to give ourselves a nice pat on the back because we were out there with some of our takes, telling you that some big name players. Hey, you should bench this guy. Andy, you freaking nailed it with Mark Andrews. He put up another goose egg. I
Mhm.
told people out there to bench Travis Etienne and Brandon Ayuk, and neither one of them got more than 7 PPR points. So. Um, just giving the listeners some context there before we hit them with all this knowledge we're about to
Yeah. We know
shoot
what
out.
we're doing here. We got this.
Absolutely. And yeah, so that being said, my first flow out player is Tyreek Hill. I'm
Oh
going bold.
wow!
I'm going bold. I'm shooting straight for
Wow!
the top. It's 3 straight weeks that he's hurt you. He's been in your lineup, and you're just, well, I can't bench
Wow.
him, so you put him in there, and he hurts you, and I'm giving you permission.
Hmm.
You can take him out of your lineup. It's okay. It's okay. Tua's not coming back this week. You don't
Wow.
have to play him. There's no rule that says you have to play Tyreek Hill. And they're playing the Patriots this week. The Patriots haven't allowed a 15 fantasy point performance from a wide receiver in the last 2 games. Tyreek Hill has scored less than 10 in his last 3. I just I don't see it. How does
Okay.
that make you feel?
Uh, yeah, that's probably the toughest that's probably the toughest pill I've had to swallow. Hearing that, but yeah, I agree. I ultimately I can't disagree. All your points are valid. So yeah, you're probably right.
And hey, if you're listening to this and you just cannot put Tyreek Hill in your bench, you should probably trade him away before his value gets any
Hmm.
lower. Try and capitalize on that name, and
Yeah.
especially if your fantasy team is 2-2 or worse.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a good move to get out while you can, and someone's gonna say, "Oh wow, Tyreek Hill," and then you get a nice, actual, productive wide receiver who
Yeah.
can actually help you win some weeks right now.
Maybe targeting a team that can afford for him to wait for the upside.
Sure. Yeah,
A
yeah.
team
I could
that's
see like
three
a
and
4 and
one.
0 team. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good advice. I like that. I'm gonna go with another wide receiver. I actually really like this guy. His name's Jordan Addison. I was trying to trade for him a bunch before the games last week because I knew he was going to do well. He only got 4 catches, I think, or targeted 4 times. Anyway, I really like Jordan Addison moving forward, but this game against the Jets, I think the Jets secondary is formidable. I think the Jets defense is formidable. Um, and I just have a hard time throwing in the wide receiver two for this team. So I'm flowing Jordan Addison out of my lineup.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup, and games across the pond can get wonky. So it's really tough to say, but yeah, that's a tough secondary, and I don't think that game is gonna go to 60 points like their last game
Hmm.
against the Packers. That was a score fest, and there was enough to go around for everyone. That's not gonna be the case every time. So I like
Right,
that pick.
right.
My next player that I'm flowing out of my lineup is Dak Prescott. Uh, this
Wow.
worked last week when I said bench Anthony Richardson against the Steelers. Well, this week it's Dak Prescott's turn to go up against the Steelers, and they're just a really tough opponent. And Dak's really only had one good fantasy week. I mean, Andy, maybe you can
Yeah.
speak to that, but I think you can bench him this week.
Dak, I think you have to start him. There's going to be teams that don't have a secondary backup quarterback, but you should. At this point, you need to have a backup quarterback because it is so hard to predict which quarterback's going to do well, and all these big names that we're getting used to scoring all these points in years past, they're just not doing that. So I agree. I'm going to twofold that and say go get a backup right now.
I like that. Yeah, and especially with bye weeks coming, this is week 5's the start of bye weeks, and so it's always nice to have that extra quarterback on your bench. And maybe you can
Hmm.
use them as a trade piece. Maybe it just gives you options to play the matchups. Because yeah, you could just roll with a guy like Dak, who's like a good, not great fantasy QB, and just roll with him in your lineup every week. But I don't know. I think, yeah, having another option like a Baker Mayfield level quarterback that you can throw in there when you don't want to go up against the Steelers is a very smart thing to do.
Maybe Sam Darnold's on the waiver wire. Shoot, maybe Geno Smith is on the waiver wire. Like all these guys that, yeah, their name isn't anything, but they are producing. Like,
Geno's a
get
good
them in your
name.
lineup.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. No,
yeah,
I like that one. Who's your next flow out player?
yeah. This guy is a caveat if Devonte Adams gets traded. If he gets traded, you start Brock Bowers. If Devonte Adams is out there, you don't start Brock Bowers. I'm out on Brock Bowers this week. I think they have a tough matchup against Denver. We've just been talking about Denver as a top 3 defense. He's gonna be covered up the entire time. And Gardner Minshew is just looking worse and worse every week. I hate to say it. I like the guy a lot. And so, yeah, I just can't trust Brock Bowers at this point.
That's super tough just because what other tight end are you going to turn to? Like, I'm not saying Brock Bowers is going to have a great week or, or that he's in a good situation at all. He's not. But that's just a
Yeah.
tough one because, like, the options are so limited. I know in my home league, I have Mark Andrews and Brock Bowers, and I
Oh,
started Brock Bowers last week, and he got me a whole 5 points, and I was thrilled
yeah.
because I made the right decision because Mark Andrews got 0. But
That might be
yeah,
his
that's
ceiling
tough.
this week.
Yeah, and then no Sam Laporta or Dallas Goddard this week. They're on bye. Uh, yeah, that's tough. I'd just say lower your expectations for
Yeah, that's a
Bowers
good
if you
point.
got to start him. Um, my last player that I'm flowing out of my lineup, it's multiple players. It's all the Chiefs running backs. I don't know what to do with that
Mm,
backfield, and I think last week we saw a situation where, Carson Steele fumbled right away and got benched, and Samaje Perine was not involved in the passing game at all. He was just a change of pace. So basically, it was all going to Kareem Hunt, and he still didn't have like a good fantasy game. So like that's like best case scenario. And even then, it didn't result in like a good fantasy output. So I think moving forward, it's just going to be unpredictable. It's going to be a timeshare, and there's no way you can put any of those guys in your lineup. That's how I see it.
yeah, I totally agree. I think Kareem Hunt is going to come back and take over this backfield, quite honestly, because the other two are look so bad. But it's going to take a little bit more than just this week. So keep an eye out for it. But definitely this week is a no-go. My last player is going to be Kyler Murray. He's going up against the San Francisco 49ers. I feel like Arizona's offense is going in waves, and this is going to be a half that comes crashing down. This is not going to be a good week for Kyler and the Arizona Cardinals.
Sometimes you just got to call your shot. Yeah, it's been a little tough to predict. Hopefully, Trey McBride comes back for the Cardinals. That could help. But
Yeah,
yeah, it seemed like Kyler was one of those guys that you just start no matter what, and he's definitely kind of come back down to earth lately. So yeah, if you have
yeah.
another
These
option
core,
against a easier
yeah,
defense, that's kind of
these
in that Dak
quarterbacks,
tier right
man.
now. So
Yeah, these quarterbacks are
yeah,
tough. They're really tough. Good luck to everybody because I'm having a really hard time with this.
it's been tough in the streets. I mean, Patrick Mahomes
Yeah,
managers they're starting to wonder if they can bench Mahomes, and I don't know. I mean, I didn't pick him for that segment, but he's definitely he's no one's start of the week either at this point.
I think he's averaging like 14, at least in my league, he's averaging like 14 points, 15 points a game, which is just great if your name is Derek Carr or something like that. Like, not Patrick Mahomes, gosh dang it.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a huge bummer, and I don't know if it's going to get any better because he just lost his top receiver. So, hey, just wanted to jump in here real quick to remind you all about our partnership with BetStamp. If you're ready to take your sports betting to the next level and you want to support our show, we highly recommend signing up for your next sports book through the show's Signup Expert link in the description. This will allow you to take advantage of many new user offers available. And don't forget to bet responsibly by tracking all of your bets and getting yourself the best odds through the BetStamp app. Back to the show! Let's switch on over to our Fantasy Flow 4-pack of game picks. Last week, not so good as the previous week. We went 1-3, which brings us we're batting 500 on the season as a podcast for these
Okay.
Fantasy Flow 4-pack. So room for improvement for sure. Andy, you want to get us started?
Sure, yeah. I got Minnesota minus 2.5 against the Jets. The Jets, the Jets are going to jet. So I know it's a London game. And Minnesota is definitely a top three team in the league, if not a top two. So they can easily beat the Jets and they can easily win by a field goal. That's how I view that one.
I thought that spread just wasn't enough. A field goal, that's all I need. And that's
Yeah.
exactly why I'm picking the Ravens minus 2.5 versus the Bengals. I think the betting publics are still a little higher on the Bengals than the sharp bettors.
Mm.
Uh, you know, they looked good last week, but the Ravens looked even better. And if it's only -2.5, geez, give me the Baltimore Ravens. That Bengals defense is not good. And if the Ravens can even come close to what they did last week against the Bills, sign me up.
Yeah, I think I'm just guessing some of the reasoning behind that is because it's in Cincinnati. It's a divisional game. They don't want to make the spread too big, and they want to keep it tight. But yeah, I'm all for that. I'm all for the Ravens at 2.5. That's still just a little too low for me.
What's your second pick?
I'm going with the Indianapolis Colts +3 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, do the Jaguars have a chance to win this game? Yeah, they do. Can they win the game and the Colts still cover the spread? Yes, they can. And what's most likely going to happen is Joe Flacco is going to come out there and just sling it all over the yard and win easily, handedly.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know which quarterback that spread is assuming is playing, because we don't know if it's going to be Anthony Richardson or Joe Flacco, and I don't know which is better. Uh, Seemed like Joe Flacco is kind of the better option if they're trying to win this week.
Yes.
Maybe let Richardson heal up. Could be a Russell Wilson, Justin Fields situation where that injury, maybe it's healed, maybe it's not, but we're going to play this other guy. That Jaguars defense is exploitable. They haven't won a game all year, and that's wild that they're favored.
Jonathan Taylor is for sure out. I thought he was just questionable right now.
So they said he's technically questionable right now, but from what I know about high ankle sprains, that means you're missing at least 2 games. They said that this was a mild high ankle sprain, and that they're not considering injured reserve, but that sounds like he's missing
At
probably
least a
two
week or
games.
two.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it'd be Trey
Okay.
Sermon for the Colts.
Yeah, I'm not worried.
And you get 3 points. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I still think that's a solid pick. And I'm gonna round this out here. Bucks +1.5. Okay, they were slight underdogs last week, and I'm going back to the well. They're going up against the Falcons. This is Thursday Night Football, interdivision rivalry, and let me tell you, I know you're on this Falcons thing, okay, but that win that the Falcons had against the Saints was the flukiest crap I've ever seen. Okay, the Falcons got a special teams touchdown. The Falcons got a pick six from a tipped pass at the line of scrimmage, fell into the linebacker's breadbasket, and he just ran it into the end zone. The Falcons offense never scored a touchdown, and they got bailed out by defensive pass interference in the last minute to set up a ridiculous game-winning field goal. Okay, so they got the win, but that's not repeatable. I think they're not as good as their record, and I'll take the Bucks here. And I know that's a hot take, so I can't wait to see your reaction to all that slander.
Yeah, that's just I got a lot to say off of that, but I can't believe you're going back to the Bucks. One and two, I never felt like the Falcons were going to lose that game, no matter how fluky it was. I was all about it. They are winning this easily, hands down. And yeah, to go back to the Bucks on a divisional game on a short week is a bold take, but I'm here for it. Oh man, I don't know. That's a bold one. That's a bold one.
So, this is the Fantasy Flow 4-pack, but that one's maybe just Austin. So, I don't know. Doesn't get the cosign of both of the hosts, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I'm
We'll
sure
see.
one of us will be talking after that Thursday night game.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I don't know why we love the NFC, why we like go back and forth on the NFC South so much,
The
but I
Saints,
love
the
it.
Bucks, the Falcons. Yeah, yeah. None of us really care, but we care so much at the same time.
Yeah, we care because we want to be right.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. We're both having some take lock, and
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
oh man. All right. Well, this has been a blast. Good luck to everyone out there in all your leagues with all your game picks, and Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us. We'll catch you later.
Yeah. See ya.
Thanks a ton for making it to the end of the episode. You're a real one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That's a free, easy way to support the show, and it really helps us out. And leave us your comments down below if you're on YouTube, or send in your questions at thefantasyflowpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time.